Hello everyone, my name is Deckerlink, the trained unprofessional, and for those of you who are unaware or the uninitiated amongst us, in addition to all the regular things I do on the channel that I enjoy doing, the visual novels, the voices, all that other stuff, I am also a really avid wrestling fan. I haven't been a wrestling fan for the longest time, unfortunately. I only got in around 2014, 2015, and in that time I have solidified what I enjoy. I have surrounded myself with wrestling content online, in person, video games, subscriptions. I watched the shows, I subscribed to the WWE Network, I've been following the rise of AEW and the New Japan stuff and everything. I just threw myself at it full force because I really just found myself enraptured with it. And of course the internet decides right now is the perfect time to take a shit. Lovely. This is almost certainly begging for a copyright claim, but you know what? Fuck it. I don't really give a shit. This clip right here of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock doing a promo back and forth seemingly off the top of their head. I didn't know what the storyline was. I didn't know what the invasion was. I didn't know when this happened, why it happened, who these people really were. I knew The Rock was in movies, but I didn't really know who Stone Cold was. I didn't really know who Hulk Hogan was. I didn't know any of these characters. All I knew is that I had an annoying neighborhood kid who really loved John Cena, and it sounded like a made-up word because what the fuck kind of last name is Cena? But this was the first piece of wrestling media I ever consumed intentionally. And soon after, I found a YouTube version of my first ever match that I ever watched, which was the 3-on-3 tag team match, Shield versus the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber 2014? 2015? Gonna shoot myself? I don't know this off the top of my head. I should have looked this up. I gotta know now. I have to fucking know. What year was it? 2014. I was right. It was 2014. Jesus tits. None of that fucking matters. The point is that I found bits just randomly and slowly found myself rolling into this, and then I found out about Undertaker's streak, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I looked at videos wanting to know more about this crazy wrestling thing. Very quickly, I found myself watching a bunch of list videos from a channel called What Culture Wrestling. Again, I didn't know what the fuck that meant. I saw in the promo Stone Cold saying what a lot, so I just assumed that was maybe it, but I didn't know that the symbol was the ring steps, for example, or even what the fuck was going on. There was some videos that had narration, but even back in the beginning, there weren't videos with narration, and some of them had pretty bad narration, but there was one guy who consistently had good narration. And unfortunately, that guy is no longer on YouTube, but the point is, I started watching a lot of his content specifically, and soon after, most of everyone else's content died out, and I just kept watching his stuff. Soon after that, new characters seemed to get introduced left and right, and before I knew it, I was watching a whole ensemble of people on this channel called What Culture Wrestling. And that spread out because they started mentioning other people, or other people started getting recommended to me, and so I started watching, Steven Larson's Going in Raw, I started watching Wrestling with Regret, I started watching, WrestleTalk.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
I started just binging all of these channels, and I started finding all these cool different aspects of different stuff, behind the scenes, current events, past events, looking things up, listening to podcasts, because goddamn it, every wrestling personality that's ever had any modicum of fame, and even those who have never had any, has a fucking successful podcast somewhere, and most likely they're advertising DDP Yoga or MeUndies. But my interest in all these channels individually started fluctuating. What Culture Wrestling, they split off, and there were people on Cultaholic with a new channel with some of the old people, and the old channel got too fucking annoying, so I wound up leaving them. Wrestling with Regret wound up getting more and more production value and started diversifying, and as such I started watching it less for some reason, which is weird. I don't know why that happened. I almost entirely stopped watching Going in Raw because it almost is entirely podcasts, and I just don't have the fucking time for more fucking podcasts. But one channel seemed to very much stick to a small episodic format. Smaller videos, multiple a day, and that channel was WrestleTalk. Now, all these channels had various different things about them concerning wrestling that they approached. Going in Raw was somewhat list-based, but long-form lists. Wrestling with Regret was basically nostalgia critic for wrestling. That analogy means a little bit different nowadays. It doesn't apply in that sense, but in the traditional watching a thing and talking about the thing you're watching type of way. Cultaholic is doing seemingly fucking everything, but WrestleTalk always seemed to be about current events, what the fuck is happening, and it was always really concise. When I started watching, was one dude, Ollie Davis, this very enthusiastic, I can't quite tell how old he is kind of dude. What are you eating behind me, Spoopy? That is an envelope. What the fuck? Very enthusiastic British dude who always really seemed to be into what was going on, and if he wasn't into something, then he would let you know exactly why without getting nasty about it. Spoofy, you are driving me insane. He then introduced another guy, Luke Owen, who took a while for me to warm up to him, but eventually he became just as integral to the channel as Ollie, and then another person got introduced, this time with a little more storyline. You know, that's something that a lot of these wrestling channels like to do, is storylines, which I've never really gotten. Really, the reason I was watching WrestleTalk was because they had reviews of Raw and SmackDown that were small and concise, so I didn't actually have to watch the shows or any of the clips on the WWE channel, because honestly, a lot of them were bad, and most of the interesting stuff would get censored, neutered, or fucking left out of the YouTube clips entirely. But I could always count on WrestleTalk to concisely and entertainingly produce a review that was short, simple, to the point, with just enough opinion in it to make me come to my own conclusions about what happened. And then, of course, they'd sprinkle in some news and current events, backstage reports, Wrestling Observer, the usually Wrestling Observer. But then more stuff started getting added to it, and the podcast started happening more and more, and every episode got a podcast, and it was like every day there's hours of content. I was like, okay, I can't watch all that, but I'll stick to what I'm watching. As long as they don't mess that up, I'm fine. Then I found out they had a website where stuff that didn't wind up in the videos, or maybe before they wound up in videos, they would wind up as articles. And so I followed them on Twitter so that I could get them sharing articles as they came out. And then, just as it seemed like there was nothing that could stop WrestleTalk, they were quickly becoming my favorite channel in terms of wrestling content out there. I don't know what machine that is, but it just kicked on, and it's really fucking up the whole flow of this thing. I found myself getting annoyed with them more and more. They added another person, and then they recently added another person, and I don't mind ensembles. I mean, back in the day on What Culture Wrestling, there was fucking the Adams, Ross, Simon, Jack, Sam, fucking the other people that are still there, and I don't... They all had different personalities, they all did different things, and I enjoyed them for different reasons. And so watching them cross over, even though it was all on the same channel, was actually kind of a novel concept. But for the WrestleTalk people, they were all doing relatively the same thing in slightly different ways with varying degrees of experience. And so basically all these new people had to learn on the fly as it was happening in front of an audience that was already expecting a lot, because they kept adding more and more. And as they're trying to battle the YouTube algorithm, it's always hard to be successful on YouTube. It's hard to maintain a level of consistency that you're employing multiple people now. You've got writers on your website, you've got servers to maintain, you've got all the bills associated. Are you good? What happened? Even OBS got fucking overwhelmed by all the shit that WrestleTalk has to pay for. The point is, they have a lot of shit that they need to pay for. And so getting a consistent paycheck from your merch, or from YouTube AdSense, or from whatever the fuck else, website clicks, ad spots, whatever the shit, sponsorship deals, a lot of that goes towards their expansion. They're doing a lot of things. And so it makes sense if you look at it from a purely capitalistic standpoint, to stretch the margin of what people will take in order to maximize your profits. And I'm not saying that's what they did intentionally. By no means do I ever think they were like, let's see how shitty we can make this until they're willing to fucking be mad. I don't know. I didn't fucking plan that bit, but you know what I mean. I don't think they had any intention in mind to sacrifice the quality of their content in order to maximize their profits. They don't seem that kind of a fucking group of people. They don't seem like those kinds of people. Granted, the whole idea of judging how a person is from a YouTube video or a series of videos is inherently flawed because all you're getting is what they're deciding to show you. Nevertheless, I would like to believe that these are the kinds of people that aren't willing to intentionally make things worse for their audience in order to make things more profitable. And I believe that in a large part because of what happened today. I'm recording this on October 23rd. I don't know when this is coming out. At the end of a long video of news, Ollie Davis, the original motherfucker, the guy who spearheaded WrestleTalk as it transitioned from an actual kind of TV interviewer thing, which it was way back in the fucking day, to basically a solo show talking about wrestling events and various things. That guy addressed the criticism in a meaningful, realistic setting. How fucking hard is that to do? That's not a statement on WrestleTalk. I'm talking like all these other people who know that there's a criticism or that there's a problem or whatever, and they just dance around it, don't address it at all, decide to make it a bit, or just laugh at the fact that people just can't be satisfied. Just address it. For years, Game Grumps got shit on because they never mentioned JonTron's departure outside of that one video. They didn't even mention his name or would get mad at people when they did. If they just addressed it when the backlash started, how much of that shit could have been prevented? I don't know. Well, I'll never know, because it didn't fucking happen! I was very happy to see Ollie Davis address the criticisms, and he asked that if anyone has suggestions on what they can do better, to let them know. I can do that. The criticisms that he already mentioned was having too many new people specifically, the clickbait titles, the too many calls to action, stuff like that. I absolutely agree with those things, especially on the website. Let's start with the clickbait. I unfollowed the WrestleTalk Twitter, which doesn't mean shit, and I'm tired of Twitter happenings being considered news. That's one of the reasons I unfollowed them to begin with. It seemed like anytime anyone tweeted fucking anything, or even they liked a tweet, or they didn't like a tweet, or shit like that, that got a headline, that got a full fucking article. And I get there are implications behind Twitter happenings. I understand that in the world of wrestling, people who are characters on TV sometimes will meld real-life personality and TV happenings on Twitter to create this Russo-esque, is it a shoot, is it real, what the fuck kind of situation. And so when you have a character who's feuding with another character and someone says, that guy's a poopy head, and they like it, they're high-profile people liking a mean tweet about one of their co-workers. That is inherently interesting, I get that. But do you need to put out a fucking post, a whole article, a clickable fucking link to your website because fucking Triple H liked a tweet that said Vince was getting old? Really? Does that deserve a fucking article? Is that what the state of the wrestling news is? It's a problem with news in general, where you're in such a need to produce content, to get your clicks, to get traffic to your website, that instead of curating and waiting for developments and all this other stuff, people just speed it out. They need to get stuff out, and they need to produce content in order to be able to get the clicks, to get the first stuff, to get the first impressions on a story, to get all of the traffic. They need to be the first. And again, I understand why that happens, but it's fucking obnoxious. It's annoying, which is a synonym for obnoxious, so you see the problem. Repetition. it seems like every video has some sort of through line where it's this thing is hinting at a something which can be speculated to mean this other thing, and blah. And it's a running joke on the channel that every tiny thing means CM Punk to AEW or WWE confirmed. That is a joke. I get that. I'm not mad at it. But here's the thing about news. When the 24-hour news cycle became a thing, you're gonna run out of things actually happening. And so you wound up with an overabundance of people who will take a tiny thing and spend a long time speculating on what it means, interpreting it, deciding for themselves what it means, as opposed to what actually happened. That's why you have bullshit fucking news shows that are just a person shouting their opinion at you. And I get that that's exactly what I'm doing right now, but I'm not calling this news. And it seemed like we were getting that for the majority of these mega episodes, your mecha news, your Susu Super news, your Stack news, your whatever the fuck Lori says news. 90% of the fucking episode was either a plug, a call to action, or some sort of speculation on what this tiny little thing means. And I understand that the idea of presenting on YouTube, it relies a lot on personality, but if all the speculation usually means something that 9 times out of 10 never happens, you wind up with this sense of complete and total dissatisfaction. I believe it was the 2017 Royal Rumble, the one with the Roman shit, not Roman Reigns, but like the fucking Roman columns and the figures and whatever. I remember that Royal Rumble most because of a specific picture of me. That sounds egotistical as shit, but a certain picture of me when a certain thing happened. I'm so mad because Samoa Joe didn't debut at the fucking Royal Rumble. That picture is of my genuine expression when Roman Reigns came out at number 30, after every fucking YouTube channel I followed kept saying it could be Samoa Joe, it could be this person, that person, coming out at number 30. And yeah, I'm not removing WWE from the responsibility of this. They fucking stacked the build up to that with Goldberg and Undertaker and Brock Lesnar and all these other people. Build up number 30 just to have Roman Reigns, who had a match earlier the night and who fucking wound up fucking up the Rumble in various ways. That was leading up to WrestleMania 33. So that would be 2017. Yeah, because WrestleMania 32 was 2016. Okay. Yeah, Royal Rumble 2017. That's the one I'm talking about. WWE should be rightfully criticized for the fact that they built up this enormous fucking number 30 spot. You could have fucking Ric Flair from his prime come out and it'd be like, really? How the fuck? So this face was bound to fucking happen. But it wouldn't be that fucking intense. I've never looked more angry in any other picture of my life. Also, the long hair, dude, what the crap. It wouldn't have been that fucking bad if I didn't have almost every fucking channel I subscribe to in their predictions videos for the Rumble saying, oh, it definitely won't be, but I really, really hope it will be, and it probably might be, maybe it will, who shit. Samoa Joe or any of these other people. The point is, pessimism has led to a lot of dissatisfaction in the wrestling fandom, and I think there is some element of responsibility on not just WrestleTalk's part, but they have some of it. I noticed this when I was watching the Raw and SmackDown reviews, and I don't want to call out anyone specifically, but it seems like Pete, the presenter on WrestleTalk, Pete Chopper, he seems to take every opportunity to call something terrible. Not literally just the word terrible, but it seems like he just whines so much. And I think I'm not the only one to think this, because every time he's like, this show was like a 2 out of 5. And then they have the little poll. What does the audience think? They always say it's better than what he thought it was. And he's not the only one to do this. Every fucking presenter on the channel, when they were reviewing Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, NXT, fucking whatever, and they have the poll, if they're just overly negative, they're like, this was terrible, you should have done this, the audience almost always says it's a little bit better. And there are many reasons why that could be the thing. If you dedicate your profession, your livelihood to talking about wrestling and negativity gets clicks, I'm not saying, again, that they're doing that on purpose, but if you there's so much wrestling content nowadays, you surround yourself with it so much. I'm just an observer, a wrestling observer. I just watch this shit. I have no financial stake in the matter. And I still found myself so disillusioned, I canceled WWE Network after that Hell in a Cell finish earlier this year. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to watch this. If you enjoy something and you see it constantly getting ruined or treated poorly or whatever the fuck, and you just have to do that every fucking day, forever, for years on end, you're gonna wind up with some fucking mental, like, inhibitions about the whole thing. Especially when the criticism is, they should have done this other thing, it wasn't this other thing, and therefore I'm mad at it. I remember hearing Triple H comment on some shit a while ago. I believe it was the Stone Cold podcast. And he said that people were getting mad at something immediately and saying that it needed an immediate change or else it was botched, it was wrong. And he said essentially, just wait for the story to happen. You don't know where we're going tomorrow, so fucking wait till tomorrow. Maybe some shit'll happen. And granted, WWE has a long history of not fulfilling storylines or giving us satisfying conclusions or whatever. It's a never-ending book. And so there's never going to be a, the end moment. It's never gonna fucking happen. You're never gonna get your proper climax because there's always gonna be some shit happening tomorrow. When Kofi Kingston won his WWE Championship at WrestleMania, everyone went nuts and they were so happy for him. You knew he had to lose the title at some point, so why not get a huge impact out of it? I'm not defending him losing in 7 seconds. And nor do I think Cain Velasquez deserves a fucking title shot immediately. But people were mad that he lost the title at all. The manner, sure. The show, sure. The end result, sure. But at all? He had to lose it at some point. That's inevitable. So whenever I hear they should have done this, it should have been this thing, I'm mad because it wasn't this other thing that I was hoping for. I get that you might have hopes, and it's frustrating to see them dashed. But you gotta give what you get a chance, and then if it fucks up after the fact, then yeah, get fucking mad at it. But because your hopes didn't get fucking satisfied, that's what led to that. I was hoping for Samoa Joe to debut, or maybe Kenny Omega, or whoever the shit. But Roman Reigns coming out at number 30 was a big moment. Almost deserving of the build-up, almost deserving of the build-up. It led to the main event at WrestleMania, and it was a big fucking deal. But because I did not want it, and because I was expecting all this other shit, I didn't think about the thing that happened as it was happening and deciding whether or not that thing was good. I decided it wasn't what I wanted, and therefore that happened. That was a problem, apparently. But getting back to Wrestle Talk, because that's actually the fucking point of this, I don't have a problem with there being a lot of different people there. I don't have a problem with any of the individual people. I think they all have their individual strengths. I like the fact that they all are in their own ways genuinely enthusiastic and they express it in different ways if they have time to grow. I tried to watch the new guys with the fucking Joker face and all the other, whoa, wrong way, buddy, with the Joker face and all this other stuff. I tried to watch his first episode and I didn't like Luke's first episode. I didn't like Pete's first episode. I didn't like Lori's first episode. So I was like, I'll skip this one. I'll come back to him a little bit later on. The clickbait titles, they already know they're working on it. They're trying to not share links to the website and the community tab, and they're bringing back the in about 4 minutes format, which honestly I kind of liked the long form casual because it wasn't as long as a podcast, but it wasn't as short as whatever as the in about 4 minutes series. But I wouldn't want to do that every time, and there was way more opinion in it than what I was looking for. I think if you're looking for opinion, there's a place for that, obviously. And I don't want to tell anyone what to and to not do, or to not say something, or to not talk about what they feel. But when you're talking about the news, I like how Philip DeFranco does it. He presents the news, gives a little bit of his opinion, and then he says, well, what do you think? That's about it. If the meat of your news story is opinion, though, then that news does not deserve to be reported. I think if you want to report on tiny shit like likes or dislikes or tweets or shit like that that can be interpreted, maybe have your news shows, have your podcast reviews, have your shorter reviews, and have a gossip column. That's why those are there in newspapers. You have, this thing happened. What does it mean? Stuff like that. I think that being separated and leaving the news for, here's the story, this could mean this, but we don't know yet, so let me know what you think, that type of thing. And then have a whole thing where it's dedicated to Wrestle Talk, gossip, I don't know what the fuck you would call it. I think that might help separate things, and you gotta clearly fucking mark what these things are. As soon as they changed Wrestle Ramble to the Wrestle Talk Live, more people have been accidentally clicking on the fucking long form podcasts thinking it's another news episode because they see Wrestle Talk instead of Wrestle Ramble. And I don't think that's why they changed the name, but that's probably why you're getting a lot of people not watching very long. Also, they recently had a Wrestle Ramble where they're like, Kofi Kingston turns heel, and then in the first fucking minutes, Pete is like, the title didn't mean anything, I just needed a title. And I was like, don't fucking have that title then! That title literally meant nothing. It didn't happen, you said it didn't happen, so don't do it! If you acknowledge that it fucking happened, literally that's what clickbait is. You put the title up just to fucking clickbait people to watch your fucking review. That was inexcusable. That was fucking dumb. And as far as I'm concerned, that needed to be fucking addressed and fixed. Because that shit was stupid and I hated it. So yeah, overall, I really do like the Wrestle Talk shows. I really do like the reviews. I like hearing about current events. And every once in a while, if it's an interesting subject, I would like to watch the long form stuff. I can't do it every time, so doing one every fucking day or every goddamn show, there are people for it. I'm not one of those people. That's fine. I would like to see AEW reviews and NXT reviews split into different videos. You don't need those to be in the same video. You'd get more views that way, and it'd be kind of a more accurate bar as to who did better. Because not only would you have the view count total, which is more subjective, but then you wouldn't have immediate contrast. Contrast is fine. Comparing and contrast, totally fine. But immediate? You don't have time to think about the shit? Okay, so you watched this one. Now, let me know what you think about it. Then you go to that one and say, what do you think about that one? I remember they used to do that for their fantasy booking warfare. They would present two different fantasy booking scenarios. You'd say, which one do you think was better on this video? Likely more to lean towards whichever one that video is about, but then you would do the same thing on the other one, then you'd total it. That way you'd have the immediate responses and the people who watched both doing your votes, and then you'd have your total, so it would cancel each other out. But when it's in both videos and AEW is second, of course that one's gonna get more fucking votes. I guess if I was to make like a TLDR version of what I'm trying to say here, it's the clickbait stuff they know needs to be fixed, so I hope they do. Give your presenters more fucking time to learn before you throw them up on the channel, because If you can't, it's the NXT problem. If you have green as shit new people next to goddamn Adam Cole, it's gonna fucking show how bad the other person is. It doesn't help them at all. Simple formatting changes, maybe adding a gossip column, maybe labeling shit better, maybe separating AEW and NXT reviews. Having shorter reviews for all of them in general, I think is fine. I don't see it as necessary, but if people do, if that's what you want to do, then cool. Reform your fucking website. Not every fucking tweet needs a headline. And goddamn it, if you do something wrong, if someone gets pissed, don't stand by and fucking defend shitty behavior. William Regal did not deserve to get shit because you said some shit that was wrong and he said it was wrong, but someone who ran the fucking Twitter page decided to try to fire back at William Regal. He deserves better than that shit. Same thing happened to Lance Storm. Even though that was kind of funny because you ran another article saying Lance Storm does not actually say whatever. It was fucking dumb. It's the whole reason wrestlers are getting tired of the fucking clickbait shit. You're turning yourself into a dirt sheet. I don't know what writers are doing it or whoever sees the writers on the website, but fucking get them in line. Whoever the fuck was disrespecting William Regal and Lance Storm, fire them or discipline them. Whatever you gotta fucking do. Manage your websites better. If you piss someone off because you did something wrong, accept it, apologize, and move on. Don't stick by your shitty behavior because you decided that it was fine. Yes, you can do shitty things. Doesn't mean you should, nor should you stick by it when it's pointed out that it was shitty to do. And I think overall, you could cut down on the content. I really think you could. I get that you need more content in order to afford all the shit you're doing, and if you decide to do it, I'm not gonna be mad that you're doing more. Because there's always gonna be people who don't want the small things. They want the long form things. They want more opinion. They want more this. They want that. I get that. But I think it would be healthier for everyone involved if they weren't so steeped in the pessimism that is instant 24/7 fucking what is happening in the wrestling industry and how is it destroying everything. It's not fucking healthy. Overall, I think WrestleTalk does an amazing service. I really enjoy what they do, and I'm really thankful for all the time I've spent being able to watch them, for being able to enjoy wrestling in a more digestible way, because goddamn, there is so much of it right now, and I can't watch all of it. I don't have TV, I don't have the network, and I don't have the fucking patience. Hell, when they were doing a casting call, they were saying that, hey, we want presenters. I was considering auditioning and sending in a video and all this other stuff. I was really considering doing it, but, you know, with the lack of quality equipment and without a reliable video editing software, I'm just left with this fucking video pad nonsense. I don't feel like I could adequately tell someone that I can consistently produce content for them. And that's unfortunate, and it's also unfortunately true. But nevertheless, I still very much enjoy what they do. Despite all the things I'd like to see changed, I'm very glad to see that they are trying to change it, and I'm very, very happy to see them addressing it in a mature and in a responsible way. I'm very happy to see that. And I'm very hopeful to see what's to come. So, I love WrestleTalk, but some shit needs to change. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, I hope you enjoyed this. I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while. This just seemed like a good opportunity to do a first episode kind of deal. When I get better editing software, I'd like to do more with it, clips and screenshots and all kinds of crap that is kind of necessary, I guess. But until I'm able to afford at least the subscription to the Adobe Creator Studio or whatever the shit I would need to do to get off of this goddamn video pad editing software, this is kind of what we're left with. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the end sleep, shall we? I think we shall. Alright, end play time. On the left, you've got a long list of patrons. If you want to join them, there's a link in the middle where you can go to the Patreon page, as well as to subscribe if that's how you prefer to support this channel. There's also 2 videos on screen. One's the most recent upload, and the other one is one YouTube picked out just for yo rats. Is also comment of the day. I don't know what it is yet, but thank you very much to the commenter. And until next time, guys, thank you and bye.